Hi, everyone. Welcome to the mothership. Welcome. Today is special Medi-Veggie, and we're doing it Halloween style. Esther, take it away.
Hi, everybody. We're going to soon say hi to all of you on not just Facebook today, but also YouTube and also watching us on Twitch. I want to give you all a hearty welcome to our spaceship because we have some unusual creatures on board. So I would love to introduce everybody. But first of all, I'm Esther, your host from Chopsticks Alley. I'm the space bunny on this spaceship, and I'll let Matthew Molcillo introduce himself next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matthew Molcillo, and I am one of the co-pilot slash explorers on this amazing journey of the mothership.
And Dr. Smita Garg, who are you today?
Yeah, I am a good old witch.
The best witch,
So that
actually.
that swoosh you saw right next to the mothership as you were all like in the ship, that thing that went by, that just flew by past you, that was me. Um, in a little bit, I'm gonna knock on the window and come inside.
And Trami Crone, I think you should introduce yourself as well.
Hi, and I'm, of course, pilot of the mothership, Trabi Crone. And we allowed the witch to come on with us today because her broom, show us your broom, is apparently broken. So here you go. We got to help a girl out. So we're here. We're having a lot of fun today. It's Veggie Medi. So we have a special plan for all of you today. So welcome to the mothership.
Welcome. And we're going to allow a couple of moments for other guests who wanted to hitch a ride with us today to get on board and safely get buckled in. But while we're waiting for them, we thought that we would give you a little sneak peek for our show today. We have none other than the designer behind Katraa here with us, decked out in his co-pilot flight suit and helmet. Matthew, why don't you share with us about what you're wearing and then perhaps later about what I'm wearing?
Sure. Thank you for the introduction, Esther. So what I'm wearing is a combination. There's actually two pieces. One is like a shoulder kind of apparatus. And
nice.
This is a helmet that I made, all of which are handcrafted out of 316L stainless steel. And then the lens here is hand-formed acrylic. So each piece, every little part on here is hand bent and then very carefully welded together in a symmetrical as possible way. And so, yeah, it makes for the lines are always changing and evolving.
That's
depending
unbelievable.
I know. I just love it.
I want that for Halloween. Oh my gosh.
Definitely feels very otherworldly and other dimension and a different era, probably not from the past, but rather from the future.
Thank you, Esther.
Matthew, I'm going to spotlight myself and try to do my best and model this bunny mask while you share about this.
Sure. So Esther is wearing a piece that I had made a few years ago for a big event in San Jose. This was for Winter Wonderland that I did with Osceola Design. Each piece on this there's multiple flowers and petals, and it's all wet molded leather. So when I use my materials, I use very limited source, and I'm very careful about any sort of waste or anything. But this was a really unique piece just because of the scale, and it was the first mask I had actually created. So it was an exciting project and has been used in many events. And Esther is just modeling this beautifully.
She looks so cute. I love it. I want that too.
It's a gorgeous piece. It's a gorgeous piece.
Thank you so much.
I want everything.
The craftsmanship on it is so beautiful.
Thank you. And this was like one of my first time actually. This is where I began making flowers and wet molding each petal individually and then hand painting it and then adding the silver leaf. And just as the layers come together, it really creates a unique aesthetic. And yeah, it was a challenge, but it inspired a lot of pieces from that point on.
Super cool.
Thank you.
So My gosh, should I tell everyone about my costume? I mean,
Yes.
this is the
Yeah.
real deal here. Well, this is the fun mothership. And so, like every good pilot, I have to wear gloves, but these are cat gloves. Okay. And I have to have my glasses, but instead of aviator, which is like old fashioned, we have to have some cool futuristic ones, There you go. Right. And then my huge headphones, which are like really hurting my ears because they're like pressing in like this. But no beauty, no pain. So I got to do that. And then I have this cropped leather jacket, which I can no longer zip up. Thanks, coronavirus. So here you go. That's me.
That's
You went
perfect.
all well. It looks great. This kind of reminds me, like I was mentioning earlier, is the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Trauma reminds me of Zaphod Beeblebrox. He's like the coolest pilot, just always dressed to the T. It's so cool.
Tommy, can you show us the gloves again? It's
Oh my
like
God.
you and Jujubee.
Yeah.
Yes. Jujubee and me. See? There you go.
Oh my God. I think for viewers who do not know who Jujubee is, you should probably tell
Oh,
them.
Jujubee is from another planet. She is my cat without any hair because on that planet, people don't wear clothes or have hair.
The Jujubee is your cat?
Yes, Jujubee is my
how
cat.
cute. I remember eating those little candies when I was a kid. They're called Jujubees, and they used to always get stuck in the back of the teeth.
He's talking
you
about
have-
the candy, not the cat.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah, we don't eat cats on
No,
this ship.
No cats. Oh my god. Great.
So what about who else? Smita, you have to talk about your costume.
Oh, okay, my costume. All right. So, well, my kids have been through several costumes, so I just borrow from them. And so this witch's hat was lying at home, and I found this amazing piece, I can't remember where it came from. Maybe my parents gave it to me. But I love this thing here because it feels very witchy and magical to me. This bauble, it's like made with purple blue glass. And it just
Beautiful.
sort of feels very witchy. And and then just recently, my friend Anna Song gave me this cardigan. And when I wore it, I realized it has the perfect witchy sleeves.
Definitely.
All you need is a witch's brew after this, right? That's all you
Yeah,
need.
exactly. Yeah. I need a cauldron,
Yes, yes.
Well, I have my, hold on. I'm sorry, but I have my.
Oh,
There you go.
that's
Oh.
very good.
So perfect,
perfect.
Smita, because you are our resident healer. I think this just makes so much sense.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, your costume fits to the T.
Thank you. I also have a scarecrow in the back. I just wanted some Halloween decorations. I have a little pumpkin over there, like just a little pumpkin light.
Bring it all
So,
together.
Well,
I love
Very
your
nice.
bracelet, Smita. That's really
what?
good.
Yeah, I know. I was so
Have to
happy.
go
I
find it.
I actually managed to find something.
That's cool.
all right. A second ago, I was going to say it's 12:15, but it's 12:16. So we're ready to begin our program officially. So again, hello to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Welcome to the Mothership, the only place where you can experience Medi-Veggie every Wednesday, 12:15, where we share a vegetarian recipe, have a meditation led by Dr. Garg, and have the interesting chats behind the scenes. So, as always, we want to remind you that if you plan to join our show via Zoom, we'll let you in until the meditation portion begins. And after that, please join us through one of our streaming platforms. We also want to say thank you to our regular participants and welcome any new participants. Feel free to comment on whatever platform you're on. Trami and I will keep, checking all our tabs to catch your comments. And also thank you, those of you, for your donations to Chopsticks Alley so that we can continue making programs like this. Now,
Very good. Yeah, sorry. Today we are on which platforms? My goodness, I can't keep track.
Today, we'll start with our #1 audience on Facebook. And we are also on YouTube. And you can also find us on Twitch.
And all of these channels you find when you look up Chopsticks Alley when you're in there. So type in the @Chopsticks Alley.
You can find all things Chopsticks Alley at Chopsticks Alley. It's perfect.
So we are ready to start, I think.
So I want to introduce he's not quite a guest, he's more a resident, but we've been wanting to showcase his work and his raw vegan recipes for some time. So I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Matthew Molcillo, who also happens to be my boyfriend. So I could not be prouder to introduce him.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm just going to go right off the top of my head and say that Matthew Molcillo started his design business, Katraa, probably technically 8 years ago, but I think he officially launched it more like 5 years ago. Is that right?
That's correct. Thanks.
Yeah, and since then, he's made an extreme variety of projects. We're going to show you a slideshow later to just give you an idea, but he does everything from exquisite leather craft to welded steel creations, as you can see. His talents are extraordinary, and I think I do want to wait until the slideshow to kind of go into all the detail, because it really is something to experience visually. And if you have the luck to wear it, there you go, like myself today. And also coming in with his background in meditation and vegetarianism, he spent 4 years of his life completely raw vegan. So he has just a wealth of recipes to share from that part of his life. And we also originally wanted to have him on this show because he has regularly practiced meditation every day for the past 4 or 5 years, I believe. And so this kind of holistic healing is very much part of who he is and his own life story. And so, yeah, we are very happy to have him sharing today.
Thank you so much, Esther.
Yes, thank you. And one last thing, we just want to remind our guests who joined the Zoom call today to mute yourselves and also share any comments and questions over the chat. And normally after we finish meditation, we like to have our discussion and we'll like to see everyone. So thank you so much for joining us today.
So should we begin with the recipe then?
Yeah, let's begin with the recipe by Matthew Molcillo.
Okay, here we go.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, me too. It's nice to be able to share something new with you guys.
So everyone can see the recipe. Yes, ready to go. Here we go.
This is one of the very first dishes that I learned to make. And it's extremely easy and extremely nutritious and can be applied to almost anything.
Is it something that you sprinkle on top of foods once you're done with the recipe?
Yes, you can actually. You can add it to foods. You can add it to crackers on top of cucumbers, celery. Pretty much, it's a great spread for people who kind of miss the flavor of cheese and that consistency. This is, and it's so nutritious that it actually can be even more than a substitute because it's just packed full of nutrients.
Wow. So Matthew, does this stay well in the refrigerator?
Great question, Smita. Usually raw foods, you can get about 3 to 5 days of shelf life or refrigeration life. With the stuff that's seeded, the nuts and things, they will last a little bit longer because of the fats, in my experience. But yeah, usually on average about 4 days, which encourages us to be conscious of our consumption and how much we eat and kind of meal plan in a way too. But the great thing about it is it tastes delicious on its own. Esther got a chance to try it. I haven't made this in years, but it can be used in so many different variety of foods if you're not raw, or even if just vegetarian or vegan. I mean, sandwiches, or with crackers or vegetables. I love it on cucumbers and in celery. So
Right.
yeah, it's a great spread.
Yeah,
Is it very fattening because of all the seeds?
It has, the types of fats are the essential fatty acids, which promote brain and heart health. So those types of fats, yes, they are present, but they're also they're very good for the body too. They're different than the saturated fats or the polysaturated. The essential ones are really vital for our health.
Have you had a chance to try this, Esther?
Yeah, I got to try a couple spoonfuls yesterday, and it actually does taste a lot like cheese. Like, I was pretty
Nice.
surprised. Yeah, and it
Yeah,
had a
it's
kick
good.
to it, I think, because Matthew likes spicy things. So with the cayenne pepper.
Yeah, it looks really easy to make. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I had to learn on the raw food journey. Was initially when I started, these preparations would take hours. So as I got more refined with what I was eating, my palate had adjusted. I was able to find recipes and create things that were very easy to make, because it can get time consuming. And this was one of the staples that I always had near me. I would eat with like flax crackers, or I even made my own crackers, dehydrated almond flour and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very easy to make.
What don't you do, Matthew? Oh my God.
I did like huge cakes and cheesecakes, all raw, to full dishes. I did like 7-layer lasagna, all raw. I made my own ice cream, vegan raw ice cream, you name it.
See, that's why you're perfect for us, because like if anything happens, I'm going to pick up Matthew and take him with me, because we'll survive. He knows how to work with metal. He knows how to cook. He knows how to grow everything and make everything, taste good. So yeah,
I'm happy to provide my services anytime on the mothership in any area.
Yeah. Esther is also important for the mothership. She brings
Absolutely.
that cutesy thing, right? And then of course, Dr. Smita, I mean, come on, if you need anything, she'll just magically make it happen, right?
And she'll get you to the root of it, so you can really feel good about yourself.
We are really happy to have our few guests who are on Zoom with us today. So for them, it's their first time joining us. So just so you know, we will go into meditation in a few minutes. When that happens, you will experience the most magical feeling. But for now, we're just having a good time, because this is what we do every Wednesday: share a recipe and also have a lot of fun. And for our Twitch audience, hey, we're back on Twitch. It's been a while since we've been on. And of course, YouTube. It's our first time live on YouTube. So yeah, we're advancing technologically,
Yeah.
Well, today we are actually on the mothership, so it makes sense. How being on Earth, it kind of stops us from being as technologically advanced as we want to. But yeah, the mothership makes many things possible for us.
And I do like you hitching a ride, and also your scarecrow. Okay, that's like the cutest thing ever.
I didn't realize that the scarecrow was first outside the house, and my daughter had put a mask on it.
Oh, so sweet. That's endearing.
I have to give a quick shout out to Marcos, because he says, Smita, where's the broom?
Show him your broom.
She's got it.
Yeah, her broom is broken today, and that's why she hitched a ride with us on the mothership. Yeah.
Totally
Matthew,
yes.
I had a question for your recipe. because as you were making it, I was thinking, oh wow, I could put jalapenos in it. I
Oh
could
my
put,
God.
right? Like I could
Yeah.
really do a lot. I could put cilantro. I could put,
Yes.
different combinations of things just to change the flavor, just keeping that as the base.
Yep.
But then, right? Kind of
Yes.
like people do with hummus, right?
Exactly. And thank you for bringing that up. That's one of the great things about this particular seeded cheese is you can add whatever you like to the base, just like you were saying, cilantro or garlic or you name it. And it just, you can change it up infinitely and create these variety of spreads that are going to be really nutritious and healthy. And yeah, they just taste great too.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this out.
Yay.
Well, it's 12:28, so I think it's about time for our meditation. So, Dr. Sunita Garg, you and your magical mug, why don't you take it away?
Yes,
So we're going to
everything's
remove
better.
ourselves from video so that everyone can have some peace. And we'll come back and stir it up again.
Yep.
So today's meditation is about the power of creativity and about, enhancing that aspect of us which is inherently creative. We all have it. We know that the divine is constantly creating. And not just the artist, but I think everybody has the power of creativity in them. And so today we'll go in that little space where we will, um, what's the word? Give me a word. We will actually activate our power of creativity. So let's do that. Okay, so just close your eyes and take a deep breath and hold for a moment. Release through your mouth. Make the release stronger, make the release longer than the inhale. Once again, breathe comfort in and exhale tension out. Just let go of all the worries, all the stress of daily life. This is your time to be with yourself without worrying about what happened this morning, what's coming later, what's happening tomorrow. Just let it all go. And now observe your breath. Your regular, normal, easy breath. As you observe your breath, imagine a beautiful warm mist come over you. This mist covers you and fills your room and your surroundings completely. And then it begins to lift and disappear very slowly. As it disappears, you find yourself quite magically in an art studio. Look around you. All around you are shelves with art materials. and art projects. Some shelves have containers filled with brushes and pens and markers, colored pencils. And then there are shelves with jars of paint, yellow, blue, red, green, purple. Every color you can imagine is there. On another shelf are some ceramic pieces, cups and saucers, plates and bowls, lovingly created. And then there are some that are just waiting their turn to go into the kiln. There is a brightness in this room. And right in front of you is a big wooden table. The table has been well used over the years because you can see paint marks on it. It has been used by artists, students, children, and also on the table is some art material waiting for you to explore with. On one side of the table is beautiful, warm, soft clay, just waiting to be rolled and smoothened and turned into a piece of sculpture. And on the other end of the table is a paint set and a big canvas with some brushes. Today is your day to be creative. So pick what calls out to you first. And go over to that side of the table. Don't worry about getting your hands dirty. Don't worry about making a mess. Don't worry about how your art project is going to turn out. In your mind's eye, think of what you will do with what you picked. If you pick the clay, feel its soft wetness in your hands. Roll it, knead it, and start shaping it. And if you chose the canvas, open that box of paints and pick up a brush and start painting. You have all these different colors available to you to paint with. Don't worry about messing up or going wrong. This is your space, and this is your time to explore your creativity. Give yourself permission to explore and create without judgment. And now spend some time working on your art. Just keep working on it. And when you feel done, put down the sculpture or the brushes and stand at a distance, looking at what you created. Can you look at your creation without judging? And just feeling the joy you experienced as you were creating? And remember, whatever you created today has been created energetically. Don't worry about how it turned out. Don't worry about what anyone is going to think. This is your time, your space, and your connection to that divine creative process. Feel free to come back to visit your art studio anytime, and especially if you feel stressed or anxious or blocked. Spend some time in the studio creating. And now take a deep breath and let go. It is time to take our leave from the art studio. And feel the mist come over again. And as the mist disappears, find yourself back in your surroundings. Just observe your gentle, easy breathing and stay in that state of deep comfort as long as you wish. Namaste.
Thank you, Smita.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I see the bunny is now exposed. It's an exposed bunny.
I started to sweat. I didn't want to get his mask all sweaty and gross.
I think I'm gonna take my hat off too. Okay.
Oh, I loved it. That was so nice.
It
What
was,
did you put? What did you pick? I'm so eager to know what you guys picked.
for me, it wasn't, I don't think I picked anything, but
Uh-huh.
because the challenges that I face as a designer and one who creates for a living my art, there's a lot of challenges that I face of judgment, of criticism, of being very hard on myself and it's never good enough, self-worth, all of those things. So you helped guide me through that process. I
Mm-hmm.
just did a post the other day about this, of being okay with what is, and it helped me to just be at peace and to just create freely without judgment. And it felt really peaceful to be just there and just create without some expectations. So I'm very grateful for this. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
Oh,
so happy to hear that.
yeah, we want to say hi to our guest, Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Hey.
I want to introduce Emma a little bit too, since our viewers on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube can also see her as well. Emma is a very good friend of mine. We went to the same college. We were both English majors, and we both attended an immersion trip to East Oakland together. So we both got to learn alongside one another. And Emma is one of the most conscious individuals I know. Cooking vegetarian recipes that are beautiful, meditation, just having a solid perspective of things. A lot of that, I think, Emma, you were the first friend of mine to really live that out. So I've been wanting to have you on this show for some while. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank
did
you
you
for
like?
being here. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. How'd you like the meditation, Emma?
It was wonderful. And I think just I it's harder for me to make the time to do this without having a community around. And so I'm really grateful that this exists, and Esther, pushed me to join. It was very refreshing.
Very nice. We're
Yeah,
glad
please
that you
join
joined us.
us.
Yeah, and I
Please
see
join
that you're
us
you're
every
also
Wednesday.
I see that you're also a bunny today.
I know.
Yeah.
Buddy.
So for me, it was I started to paint my family. So family means different things to different people. So I'm not going to share what my family is, but that's what I was doing.
Lovely. And how about you, Esther? What did you pick?
Okay, so I painted, and the funny thing is, like, I started judging immediately because I always think of myself as not like a visual artist. I don't really paint. It's more like music and writing that I go towards. Emma knows this, Matthew knows this. So I was like, okay, like I would love to, create like some spirals using all the colors that you just said were available. But I was like, I don't even know how to make the first line because I would like it to taper, but then what happens to the next colors? Is it going to still be a spiral? And I was like, I don't even know how to do this. I need someone to show me.
Yeah, I know if you do this meditation on a regular basis, you'll overcome your fear of drawing. Because if you can do something mentally, you can literally do it.
Yeah.
I have to remember that regularly because it's sitting in that space of discomfort and there's a lot of resistance. I think, like what Esther was saying. Yeah. Being able to
I,
work.
so I know that as a kid, I drew all the time. But then what I see is that a lot of people around me were not really encouraged to sketch or draw, or their parents thought it was a waste of time. And I find it so hard to understand why like drawing or sketching would be a waste of time. Something in my head doesn't maybe because I am from the art world. And because I understand how deeply our drawing is connected to brain synapses and things like that, allowing our brain to exercise. There's some people who need to draw all the time, and that's how they exercise their brain. So when we allow people to draw, they actually create new neural connections in their brain. And it's very important for the brain to keep exercising different parts of it. So it's, it stays younger, longer. It stays active, just like the body.
Well, Matthew is a creative himself. So I think I love today's episode because it's about creativity. And also the full moon is coming up this Halloween. I mean, right on spot, right, Smita?
Yeah.
I wonder what that's going to feel like.
Well, the full moon is about letting go of things that no longer serve you. And so if you have any fears around creating, you can let go of those fears now.
Wow.
Well, Matthew, are you ready to share with us your creations? Yeah? Okay, here we go. So I guess you'll talk us through it, or should we just show the video and then you'll talk about it?
Whatever works best. I can talk while it's showing or...
Okay. Okay, so here we go.
So these were some of my very first creations. And as over time they've evolved and become more complex, the quicker or the more that I was able to refine my skills. And the wallets and some of these here are the most recent that I've created. And my dear clients, this was a piece that I did for, actually Esther had helped me with doing some of the gold leaf on this crown for a headgear event in San Francisco. And they're also diverse. Each one is extremely challenging because I don't know what I'm getting into, but I trust and just work through it. And it goes even into my metal sculpture. And this was a balcony railing I did for a client. And that's the mask that Esther was wearing. And there it is again. And this is a little snippet of me TIG welding one of the stainless steel pieces, which I have here. There it is.
Wow. Just gorgeous.
Yeah, all of the outfits, these are all latex. Fiona's wearing the helmet that I have next to me. And this salmon skin. And so I work with some very interesting materials.
Wow, this is
Did you paint that?
I did. This was an outfit that I made for my client Marsha for her wedding. I'm married to Michael. The tiara, that's there she is again. These are kind of quick, but that was interesting.
Whoa.
That was the table. Yeah. Casey wearing the belt, another fashion shows. So as you can see, my work is quite diverse, and it's great because it just adds to the complexity and the uniqueness of each piece. That's why people come to me for these one-off creations. And this was a motorcycle that I had built too from scratch. And my most
oh my god,
this was Esther had actually helped me with this, and all of the models are wearing my designs. And there's us.
I love it. My goodness. I want to see Esther like model these pieces.
Yeah.
It's so sexy,
I know, it's so sexy. So I'm like scared. But Matthew's actually very he like guides me kind of out of my fears, I guess, of kind of like expressing like I've actually told him like, Matthew, like when I watch these ladies model, I'm so impressed. Like I have so much respect for how some of them, they're dancers, and the way that they like move their bodies and their facial expressions to like bring out the power of the piece is so cool to me. I'm like, that's an art form. And then the little girl in me is like, I want to try that. But then like I guess the adult is like, oh, that's scary. Like that's
Mm.
putting yourself out there. But he's really encouraging about that.
Isn't that interesting how the fears or like the adult in you is the fear, the child in you is fearless, right?
It's really interesting. I think given the position I'm in, working in very close quarters with mostly women, to be given that trust. And I've worked with women in their 50s, and to, most of my models are younger. And every single one of them experience levels of insecurity that are quite high. So I'm able to, they trust me to be in that space, and I want to empower them to feel good about themselves, to feel safe. And every single one of them who tries it on is like, I feel like a superhero. And that last event that you saw, one of the models who's been wanting to work with me for a while, she's in her late 50s. I'm trying to think her name, Bernadette. She put on the outfit and she was like, I'm ready to shoot through the clouds. And so it's stuff like that. Every one of my pieces, there's something really valuable that comes from it. And that's the connection that I have with people. And that's what has sustained me. All of my work for the past 5 years has been custom commissions, referral base, and repeat customers. So I work very limited and exclusive, usually one-offs. I don't do much, if any, production. So it's sustained me this long. So I'm grateful to continue to be able to do that.
That's amazing. But you put so much heart into your work, and that makes a difference, right?
Absolutely.
Do you only do like one piece of whatever you create? Is it like one exclusive piece then?
That's a great question, Smita. Thank you for asking. Very rarely. I honestly cannot think of a piece that I've made twice. There were a few latex items that I made multiple of too, but most every piece is exclusive one-off, which means sourcing of materials, which requires design and time to create these pieces. And because they're all unique, they require very special care and attention because every piece
Right.
moves differently. It responds differently. You can do certain things with it and you cannot. Color matching, everything across the board, it's one off. One person has it, that's it. So it really adds to the perceived value of and the apparent value of what I'm doing. So yeah, most of them are all one off.
Right. And I'm even thinking that, when you created that thing, that, outfit in metal, um, because I know how people take measurements with cloth, right? When they're creating something with cloth, it's like so easy to take those measurements and then how do you handle that with metal?
With metal is interesting.
I mean,
Yeah. It
mhm,
the corset that I did, that was one of my very first stainless steel pieces, wearable art. And I know the material very well. It has a lot of memory because of the molybdenum and chromium within it, which allows it to bend and then return back to its shape. The neat thing about that is I can
mm,
stretch and mold and shape it very carefully. All this is done with my fingers. So there isn't any sort of tool that I use to shape it or anything. It's all hand bent. And sometimes I use little tiny holes to create this contours. Then I match them. But once the piece has the basic shape, and I usually use a form, a female bust form in this case, and then I mold from
mhm.
there so I can expand or contract the piece just by carefully moving each one of the areas. So there is quite a bit of versatility with that. But if I'm making it for something specific, I will get measurements ahead of time, make a form, and then go ahead and construct the piece.
Hmm, got it.
Hmm.
Very, very interesting.
Thank you so much.
This is a little off topic from everything, but I just wanted to compliment Chami's eye makeup. It looks so good. I love the kinds that look fierce. I don't know. That is all.
Well, thank
There we
you. Let's talk about me some more. I like it. No, I'm just kidding.
go.
Esther being that much, I had noticed the wings on your eyes, and I was like, that's really pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did something like that for Esther, and it was really enjoyable to complement the shape of her eyes with the lines. That's one of the things that I really focus on is line work And you can really compliment something with lines, or you can not compliment. So there's a fine line there. And she has such beautiful eyes.
There's a fine line.
Yeah.
No pun intended. No.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love today's topic is because it's about creativity. And, you know, if it's like a muscle too, right? So when you're not exercising it, you might feel like I'm not that creative. I don't really know where to start. But once you start, it just keeps opening, like these doors, and the thoughts just keep opening and opening, right? So
Very true.
yeah.
Yeah, Trami, that's something I think you could speak to in regards to coming up with different programs for Chopsticks Alley. I remember what you shared with Daniel on your podcast interview.
Yeah. So I used to be left brain more, and now I'm right brain. But you have to be careful too. Like you don't now. I can't even multiply in my head. So you have to be kind of careful because then you lose the other part. It's like as a kid I was like best in math. I got these awards. Now I'm like 6 times 2. Like it's it's one of those things.
Which one is more fulfilling though? Like, even though you're one heavy on one side, I feel like that is more fulfilling, and somebody else can do the math.
Yeah, exactly.
The worker, the creative engineer.
This is who's doing the math.
Yeah, technology for that, but there's only one of you.
Yeah. What about you, Emma? Would you say you're a creative person, left brain, right brain?
I'm pretty creative. I think with time, I've had to kind of reconceptualize what it means to be creative. But that idea of kind of tuning into like the divine creative force is something I resonate with a lot, in that I realize like, oh, in times when, even if it's just something small, like singing is creative, or putting things together is creative, not engaging in those things, I'm not feeling fulfilled. But I come from a casually creative family. None of us really consider ourselves artists, but we all engage in artistic endeavors to some extent.
That's lovely. Yeah.
As a friend, I want to say something about what Emma does, and she's very good, I think, at getting to know someone and then kind of helping them see the cool stories they have to share. And I know this as a friend because Emma's done that for me, but also because I got to work alongside her for some time.
I forgot.
I'm gonna bring back this part of our life. But actually it was really cool, right? Because as a counselor, it was kind of your job to, I guess, get to know, the high schoolers and help them craft stories about themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, a lot of times I think at that age, and certain people brought up in like certain sheltered situations, it's hard for us to find something about ourselves that we feel is worth saying. So I think there's a lot of delicate, balanced creativity that has to happen when we're working that intimately with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to be creative. Like, you could be creative in incredible amount of ways. So, just like Matthew, you being creative with the materials you use, there's just incredible amount of materials. And then if you're cooking, Trami, with all the pictures of your cooking that you post, there's just so many ways to be creative. And, the fulfillment you get at the end of a creative process, I don't think anything can match that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's something that I've had to learn, that the creative process is not a means to an end. And it's everything that we learn along the way that becomes a fulfilling part that we're able to apply to life, to many other things. But there's a reason why we're working through these things. And it goes more than just, for me, it's got more than just the creative aspect. There's the self-work that's integrated within that. Because it gets challenging, it's doing this every day, forcing yourself or having to be creative every day can put a lot of pressure on you. So
yeah.
Yeah, I apply creativity in many aspects of my life, and I was taught this by my late life coach, Coach Ken Gray from Santa Cruz. He says a lot of people view the world as competition, right? At the time I had a spa facial salon, and he says don't look at competition as in like vying for something, but more when you feel that competitiveness coming up, or someone's doing something and you're not, or they're doing it better, instead of getting competitive, you get creative. And so then you start to think of what else can you do with your business to be better? What else, So instead of competition, it's get creative.
Right.
So, right. It's such a lovely thing. And I mean, that facial salon that I started, it started like in this tiny office. We ended up with like 4 rooms, and we won all these awards, and it's really about getting creative. And it started around 2010. So it's like when the downturn of the economy. So everyone's like, what? You can't. Mm-mm. But all I did really was the creativity. That's what's changed. I didn't become like dog eat dog and, go into that mode, because that only gets you so far. It will get you somewhere, let's face it, but you can only get so far. But when you get creative, first of all, it feels nice, right? You're not hurting anyone. You're only creating more. And you also become like inspirational for other people. So then they have to step up their game and get even more creative, right? So as humans, I think we have a lot of creativity in us.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even fear. When you think about fear, right? You can also overcome fear with creativity.
Totally. Yes.
Right? Can you give an example, Dr. Smita, like how you would overcome fear with creativity? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, just like in the meditation today, right? That there is definitely something like you know, when you're staring at a big white canvas and trying to make that first mark, and it's like, oh my God, what is gonna show up? But if you just make that mark, and I'm trying to think how, like, I'm getting an image of just dipping my brush in paint and just going, you know, even that little, splash of color is going to break that fear.
Yeah. That
So
step, like take a step.
Yeah, take a step, take an action, whatever that action may be.
Thank you.
And you can always think of 100 things to then do with that splash of color. In the worst case, you can paint it back to white again. Right?
Yes.
That's part of the
So,
part for me. God, starting is a fear of the mistake, and the
yeah.
mistakes I work with are so special that I will literally sit there and stare at something, and I'll actually walk away and I'll come back, and it becomes, I get stuck because I'm like, if I screw up, I've got one of these things. There's a tremendous amount of pressure, but overcoming that little bit is you just, and then I finally cut into it and I'm like, all right, I made a mistake already, and then you have to go with it because it's what you got to work.
Yeah,
So yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's in the mistake that the next creative steps, they come out from that mistake.
Yeah. So I think fear makes you frozen.
Yeah.
You just freeze, right? You stop, you can't, you got to walk away. So when you start to think creatively, you don't stop. Your mind just immediately takes you to somewhere else to do something
So
else.
here's what fear does. Fear freezes you, but then in that state, when you just go into a state of observation that, hey, yes, I am frozen because I'm feeling fear. In that moment, you overcome the fear, and then through creativity, you can then move into a space of no fear.
It's like the awareness.
Yeah,
Asking yourself,
awareness. Exactly.
Like I know right now I'm in the fear mode. Like
Yeah.
just that acknowledgement
Yeah.
is enough to help you get to.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's so funny you mentioned that because it's just that little tiny just pause and ask, how can I move beyond this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my coach, he tells me like when the fear comes up, which is our consciousness, right, which has been put into us by our parents or family to keep us safe, so we don't cross the street and not look and kill ourselves, right? So when that comes up, he says, "Oh, okay, thank you. Next." So you acknowledge it, but you go next. And those skills that he taught me that are really just normal, doable skills are so useful, which, by the way, I recommend everyone have a life coach of some kind. I think it's helped me tremendously. I always have somebody, whether you pay for them or not. I encourage paying people for their services. Okay. I know as Asians, we like to have things for free, but I'm just saying we have to pay people. Okay. But I really recommend, especially young people, to start with a life coach. I wish I had one when I was younger, because then I would have skipped and hopped over a bunch of stuff. But they come into your lives as you need them. So.
And your parents are not always the best life coaches.
That's right, because they instilled the fear in you.
Yes. They are too worried to see you fail, right? Sometimes parents are so worried to see us fail.
And a fear of losing us because of success.
Yeah, but then it's also because they feel like they failed somewhere as a parent if we failed.
Right. You're all coaches for me.
And fear of failure. So I guess Coach Ken Gray, he's wherever he is in the ether. He's talking to me now. So when I came to him, I had a lot of fear. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do that. He's like, okay, Trami, hold up. Do you think when they launched the rocket to the moon, they did it the first time? He's like, no, they did it once. It blew up. They failed. Did it again. It blew up. Failed. They did it so many times until finally they did it. So what? Mistakes are okay.
And
I was like,
each time a rocket blew up, it was billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So he's just saying like, it's okay. Mistakes are okay. It's part of life. Stop judging yourself. And that's from the Asian upbringing. So if we make mistakes, that means we failed and we should just die, right? Like it's like that horrible. So that fear is so tremendous. And if we can just say mistakes are part of life, mistakes is okay. Wow, so much freedom I got from that. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done all kinds of stuff, and then I've done all kinds of good stuff too. But you have to try. And if you don't try, you won't make mistakes, but you won't get anything either if you don't try.
It reminds me of Thomas Edison, and he said that he found 10,000 ways to not be successful at something instead of failure. And that's what it took for him to invent the light bulb, So when you think you've had a few tries, imagine something like that or somebody else there's a lot that goes into it. You just keep going, It's part of it.
I think it's really helpful when people are willing to open up about making mistakes though, because I think that what would help, or I think in some cases with parents to children, it's like we feel that pressure because our parents won't even open up to us about their mistakes, at least not like the really hard ones that probably are surrounded by emotion and pain. And like when they don't learn from that, we don't get to know that part of them. We may not know it's there. There's kind of this like distance where there could be like an intimate connection. But I think that it comes back to, fear. Like, I don't want you to know that I did this, that I went through this, but it's like, we can't access that then. It's, something that could be really, possibly really beautiful and healing doesn't get to happen.
Yeah. And mistakes in relationships too, not just mistakes because you took the wrong career. Okay, mom and dad. There's more to life than career and school. But relationship mistakes too. It could be with a friend to a friend where you're like, yeah, that was harsh, what I did, or you can always come back. So, and if you cannot, because they won't talk to you or whatever, next time, you do better. And I think in this life, my lessons are about relationships, and my lessons are, I made a lot of mistakes, and then the perspective, like, well, I was fine. Well, she's the bitch, like there's nothing wrong with me, like we go into that phase. And then, right. And then later you're like, yeah, well, I could have handled it better. I could have, should have. And I'm not perfect. Darn, but it's good to acknowledge and move on. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, there's a process I do when I uh, mess up with somebody and things aren't really going well. That person's not talking to me. I actually sit with myself and I just sort of call on that person's soul and I just have a chat and I have a regular chat until that because what happens is that the feeling that you are left with is actually it has an energy of its own and you want that energy to go away. It bothers you. It bothers that feeling. So, it's a feeling of unfinished things, an unfinished conversation, an unresolved situation, right? So you want to resolve it within yourself somehow so you can move forward. So that's my process. I just sit down, I call on them, and I have a chat, a heart to heart chat. And I keep having that chat. I keep saying sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, until that energy leaves my system.
Hmm.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this technique because there's some issues in my life that are a little unsettled, and I've kind of hit that wall. So it's
Yeah.
like we're having the conversation, like you said, with ourselves, so that we can just work through that. I've never
Yes.
tried this technique, so yeah, I'm
Well, try it.
yeah.
Esther, I think our friend Marcos has a lot of opinions today.
I've noticed. Hello, Marcos. Going back to Matthew's slideshow, he had shared that he's a welder himself, not certified, but that he can appreciate that metalwork. Very nice, he says.
Thank you, Marco.
And he's just been chiming along with us this whole time. But a couple of highlights. It's good to have fear. Agreeing that some of us love things for free. And Marcos thanks Trami for the good advice.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you for sharing, Marcos.
Yeah.
You're a welder too, so yeah, you can appreciate what goes into actually fabricating and welding. It's an art, certified or not. I have my certs years ago, but just taking it on and trying it, and doing it is what counts.
So where our ship is about to take off. So does everyone have like a last minute thought? Today's Halloween special episode. So maybe some Halloween tips for everyone before we take off. We'll start with Dr. Smita.
Well, my tip for Halloween is I don't know what to say.
Put a
Except
mask on
that-
your scarecrow.
Oh, yes, put a mask on your scarecrow. If you do choose to, or if you have kids that want to go out trick or treating, this year in my house, we are not really putting any candy out because it's not safe. We don't think it is safe for people to, because that's part of the fun, right? On Halloween, when we give that bowl of candy, when we offer it to kids and they come and then they choose, and sometimes they'll pick one up and then drop it right? So we just don't want hands going in there. So, you'll if you still want to give candy out, I would suggest that maybe make bags and put like one or two out in a creative way, but you don't want to be contributing to the spread of the virus.
Good
So,
tips. Good
yeah.
tips. What about you, Matthew?
That's a really solid tip. How do I follow with that one?
Okay, anyone who has one.
I was gonna say my tip is it's more of just embracing the creativity and the joy of this moment. There's a lot going on, in our world. Everybody's experiencing it. So taking the time, whatever that looks like for you, to just have some fun and be mindful about it and safe, of course. But it's okay to revel in this, and because it's going to help lift your spirits, even if it's uncomfortable to get dressed up, maybe just trying something or reaching out to somebody or making something.
Do a Zoom thing like we are doing, right? Like just dress up like that and do a Zoom thing with your set of friends.
Okay, Esther, do you have one, or Emma?
Emma,
Okay.
do you have Halloween plans?
Just I'm gonna try and convince my boyfriend to get dressed up. Just because
Yes.
that's the best part of Halloween for me, even if I'm not going anywhere. Figuring out some sort of costume and a justification for it.
Right. That should be really fun. Definitely have him dress up and send us a photo. We'd love to see it.
Yeah,
So,
please do actually.
as a reminder, the 31st of October is the full moon, and it's supposed to be a blue moon. So, if you have crystals, it's
Yes.
time to put them out so they can recharge, right? Set intentions, recharge them so that they can keep working for you. So, this is my amethyst.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's a
thank you.
gorgeous piece.
You know what I learned about amethyst? Here's a tip. So you need ones with a lot of facets, is what I'm told, because the more of these pointy, faceted things that are going on, then they're more powerful,
Yeah.
right? Have you heard that? Because I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One too. It's amethyst, and it has a spire that comes out the back, a quartz that penetrates through. And usually, when you find the rarity of pieces like this, there's
Wow.
more energy contained within it. But this one is just the translucency.
cool.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Super.
It's a smoky quartz.
It's it's hard to see the color, but it's actually purple.
It's
Like
purple.
Yeah,
purple.
the
Yeah.
tip. The tip.
Yeah.
And it goes to like a kind of a smoky quartz, so maybe a combination of both. And then out
Yeah.
the back shoots its piece of quartz, clear quartz.
Yeah. Clear quartz. Beautiful.
And Esther, the hostess with the mostest, do you have a tip for us before you send us off to the spaceship again?
My tip is to treat Halloween like Christmas. Just spend good time with our loved ones. Do what makes you happy, dress up if you want, play your favorite music. But personally, I'm with Emma. I just want to be comfy, soft and comfy with my loved ones. That's
Very sweet. Very sweet. So with that, you want to send us off, Esther, while
I think
do
we're
our
taking
thing?
off.
Yes, we're taking off.
Hear it. It's time.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks all for joining us.